Okay, I will call the August 3rd meeting of the Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals to order. And let me begin by asking you all to please silence your cell phones, including myself, and also by introducing the board. So to your left is Jerry Patamas, who's associate member of the board, TJ Hurry, who's vice chair of the board. I'm Ken Foreman, chair of the board. Kim Beelan, clerk. Ed Van Kuren, voting member. And Robert Dugan, who is an associate member. And let's see, so tonight we're going to need, we're missing one voting member, right? So we're going to have to appoint some of the associate members to various hearings. So the Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying the zoning bylaws of the town and considering requests for special permits, variances, and appeals as provided by our bylaws, which have been approved by town meeting and by the Attorney General's office. Process works like this. We hear testimony through the hearing process from applicants, representative, and we give that representative 15 minutes. If more time is needed, that can be requested by vote of the board. It can be granted. And then we'll have some board questions for the applicant, and then open it up to the public. If there's any public comment, I'll ask for comment either in favor or opposed, or if there's just a question, that's fine. Please wait to be recognized by the chair. Go to the podium and state your name for the record. That way, if we're being televised through the mic, your voice will be heard. And also, please refrain from any discussion out there during the hearings. There'll be ample opportunity to talk. If the board feels after the public input and board questions that we have enough information, then there'll be a motion made to close the hearing. If we feel there isn't sufficient information, if we still have questions, we might continue. And then once the hearing's closed, there may be board discussion and a motion either in favor or in denial. We'll have the vote. A supermajority is required, so at least 4 in favor for approval. And I think that pretty much covers the process. So tonight we have 5 new hearings. We have no continuations. We do have one open meeting item, which is a comprehensive permit.
No.
Or
Special permit.
special permit modification, sorry, for 023-17, which we had taken up previously and were not able to get to last meeting. And there has been a request if we could possibly take that out of order.
Chairman,
if the board is so inclined.
I will make a motion to take that out of order.
Second it.
Okay.
So this is the board review and possible vote for 2317.
Yep. Okay, moved by Kim, seconded by Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So you all have a draft decision. We had asked Administrator
Boudreaux. That's me.
Boudreaux, I know
I
who
just
you
gave you
are.
one.
Yes, to prepare, and I forgot to introduce her, Sari Boudreaux, our administrator, and Ashley Mello, who's our recording secretary tonight.
Yes. She's working overtime.
So hopefully you've all had a chance to look this over.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And is there any further discussion on the motion as drafted?
Well, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I think Sari did a great job, including all the findings, because it was a detailed decision and conditions.
Okay. Well, if everyone feels satisfied with this draft, someone could move that we,
We need to fill some blanks in.
I will, as soon as you
Yeah.
guys
Puts
make
those in
a
there.
Okay,
determination.
yeah.
So is every, oh,
I'm not a voting member, correct?
Correct.
yeah, so on this one, is it just,
It's Kimberly, Ken, TJ, Ed, and Robert Dugan.
okay.
great. So I'll make a motion to approve application 2317, modification of special permit 6903 as drafted.
Second it.
Okay, moved by Kim, seconded by Ed. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
And aye.
Thank you.
Yep.
Michael, I'll have it filed with the town clerk tomorrow, well, Ashley will.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, board.
Okay, so then the first public hearing we have tonight is 042-17 McDermott, 71 King Street, special permit to construct an addition to a dwelling and raise and reconstruct a detached garage. And so I'll ask the clerk to read that.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, who's going to sit in member Murphy's?
Okay, let's start with Jerry.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Michael T. McDermott and Susan D. McCarthy of Sudbury, Massachusetts applied to the Zoning Board of Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Section 240-3C of the Code of Falmouth to raise and reconstruct the detached garage and construct an addition creating habitable space within the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling on subject property known as 71 King Street, Falmouth, Massachusetts. Thank you. From engineering, it's the standard comment. The project must not direct any stormwater runoff to public properties, abutters, or rights of way. We recommend adding dry wells, rain garden, or other stormwater measure for the roofs. Concom, not in jurisdiction. Fire department, there was no comment. Assessors, there was no comment. Planning, there was no comment, but they did submit, just signing off saying that they had reviewed it, and we received one letter of support.
Okay, and looks like Mr. Flower is here for the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is my first meeting with you as in the chairman seat, so I'm all thrown off. My whole beginning of my
That makes
presentation is
two of us.
scrapped. So I'll have to see if I can get my feet back underneath me. Good evening for the record. My name is Kevin Clower. I'm an attorney here in Falmouth. I'm at Clower Law Firm, and I represent Mike McDermott and Susan McCarthy, the owners of 71 King Street, and the applicants in this matter. Mr. McDermott and Mrs. McCarthy are here with us this evening. This property is located at the northern end of King Street near the intersection with Queen on a lot of approximately 12,700 square feet. It's located in the general residence zoning district. Presently, the property consists of a dwelling, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-story dwelling with an approximate height of 24 feet and 3 inches. There's also a detached 2-car garage with an approximate height of 11 feet. The overall footprint by structures, garage, shed, and house is 1,644 square feet. This property is non-conforming in a few ways. The house is non-conforming to the front yard setback, being 15.1 feet where 25 is required, and the side yard setback being 7.9 feet where 10 is required. The garage is likewise non-conforming to the side yard setback, being only 3.3 feet where 10 is required. Otherwise, it is conforming to rear setback and lot coverage. The applicants tonight are seeking permission to renovate the existing dwelling and to add an addition to the home. This addition will create a master suite, and they'll also be seeking to raise and rebuild the somewhat dilapidated garage and replace it with a functional 2-car garage. The net result of these projects will improve the aesthetics, the comfort, and the functionality of the home for the applicants. This will result in an increase to the footprint. Lot coverage by structures will be at 2,500 27 square feet, which is 19.87% of the lot coverage, below the 20% that is allowed by right. There's no change to the front yard or side yard setback of the home, and the garage setback, side yard setback will be improved, albeit modestly, from 3.3 feet to 5 feet. The proposed addition on the home is only 1 story, with a height of approximately 12.5 feet, and the proposed garage height is 14.5 feet. This project also envisions the creation of an unfinished basement under the addition. That will be, as I said, unfinished and will be used for storage, as there is very little in the house as it's currently constituted. Due to the existing nonconformities, this proposal requires a special permit under zoning bylaw section 240-3C. That section allows for pre-existing non-conforming structures to be changed or altered by special permits of this board, provided those changes are not substantially more detrimental than what currently exists. The board is tasked with considering the standards of 240-216 and whether the alteration creates any new dimensional nonconformities, impairs views of vistas from public ways, and reasonably conforms to the average dimensions in the neighborhood. In this case, the side yard setback of 3.3 feet will be improved. The resulting size of the home is in line with other homes in the area. There are no detriments to this project relative to the existing structure. There's no adverse effects that I can see. There's no new nonconformities that are being created. There's an improvement of the existing nonconformity. There's no impact to a view of vista, and it meets the standards of 240-216. The bedroom count will be increasing to 4, but a new system is being installed, which will accommodate that number of bedrooms. Overall, this project provides a substantial improvement to the property with no ill effects. Based on this information, I would ask that you grant the special permit request. I'd be happy to address any questions you might have at this time.
Okay. Let's see if anyone has any questions.
Any finished space at all in the new proposed basement?
No.
That's all I have.
I have none.
Stormwater roof runoff?
There are dry wells shown on the plan. And if, to the extent there, I was told there are, and I believe there are, but if they're not, we're certainly happy to have a standard condition that dry wells be installed per engineer.
Okay. The basement, so current use of the existing basement is unfinished,
The
right?
existing basement is just a crawl space.
Okay.
Under the existing property, under the existing dwelling.
And then as, under the proposed, what's the proposed?
It will be an 8-foot, it will be an 8-foot basement under the addition. And that will be strictly for storage, unfinished. I saw Sari comment that there are no dry wells shown in the plan. I had been under the impression there were. I don't see any when I just glanced at it, but we're happy to condition the approval on dry wells per engineer, as we oftentimes do.
And then just the location of the garage. So I know you're increasing the setback, but you're still not complying.
Almost 20%.
Yeah. So,
So part of the reason for that is to do with the septic field in the existing driveway and the proposed driveway. That way there's enough of a turning radius, there's enough room to also stack cars there and to not interfere with the septic.
all right. I think that's all I had for the time being. Thank you.
Yeah, you said that the heights of the structure, can you remind me what those?
Sure. The existing height is about 24 feet 3 inches of the two-story dwelling. The proposed addition is 12.5 feet, and the garage is about 14.5 feet. Plus minus
14
and a half
for the
garage.
garage and 12 and a half for that addition. Okay, great. TJ?
Attorney Clower, I assume the front yard setback's going to be remaining the same?
It is. We're not touching the front.
Okay, and the existing shed, that will remain?
That is proposed to remain, yes.
Okay. That does it for me.
Anything, Jared?
You've covered it all. You did well.
Get a gold star.
Let's see if anybody in the public has any questions or concerns? Anybody out there want to speak to this one? Okay,
I have one more question.
sure.
You may have touched on this, Kevin. A garage, heated, unheated?
No,
Okay.
unheated.
Unheated.
And no,
No finished space, no
No
living space in there, no
loft.
loft space or any of that.
okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and the addition is, at least in the master's cathedral, right? So,
Well, it'll be 12 and a half foot ceiling, 12 and a half foot ridge height, so I don't know if I'd call it cathedral, but it's certainly a high ceiling.
right, but I mean in terms of the interior.
Mhm.
Okay. If the board has enough information, I'd certainly entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll move to close the.
Second it.
Okay, Kim and Ed to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No. It's unanimous? Okay, what is the pleasure of the board with respect to this special permit?
Move to approve it.
Okay, Jerry makes a motion to
Second it.
approve. Seconded. Findings?
The renovated dwelling will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure and will reasonably conform to the average dimensions found in the neighborhood.
Okay,
The project meets the standards of 240-16. Lot coverage remains under 20%. The existing non-conforming side setback will be improved.
very good.
They're putting in a septic tank to accommodate four-bedroom use. The proposed residence will improve in appearance and will be in character with the other properties in the neighborhood. I think I'm going straight down, 240-216,
That's good.
as outlined
That's
by the
good.
attorney.
Anybody want to add?
I'll jump in, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Chairman. So testimony that they would be installing dry wells. I think we've been doing that finding and condition. Testimony that the new basement under the addition will be unfinished for storage. That they're increasing the bedroom count to 4, but we can tie that in with Jerry's finding that they are installing a new septic tank. And I would also just add in terms of, I think a finding should be that this is like the addition's 12 feet, so there's no addition of bulk or anything from the street. I think it's,
Yeah, both the garage and the addition are well below the height of the existing dwelling.
and the garage is unfinished and unheated.
Unheated. Okay, Jerry, you want to have some conditions?
Per revised plan to show the dry wells
Okay.
to be
I think
submitted.
you can go by proposed plans and just have
Okay.
them submit a plan showing dry well locations.
Right, so we have some standard wording I think we use for, the
Yeah.
addition of dry wells would be a condition
Okay.
on top of what's
Right.
proposed, as per the engineering.
Do you want to leave it up to the best practices by the engineering?
I think that's the
Okay.
way to do it.
No habitable space in the basement. I mean, that's a finding as well as a condition.
No bedrooms.
No bedrooms.
Yeah, it's,
The basement will be used for storage with
We
no
already did a
bedrooms.
finding that the testimony would be, but people can finish their basement, they just can't have bedrooms
right,
down
it
there.
can be habitable.
As Cerise said. I'll give up while I'm ahead.
And then, I don't know, do we want to make the garage being unheated a condition or not?
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't
I don't
think
think
it's-
so.
It's not going to be habitable, right?
There's no loft. It's habitable by a car.
You can make it, you can make a condition that the garage not become habitable.
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to say you can't have heat, but you can say it's not habitable.
All right?
Condition 4 bedrooms, too.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned. Okay. I think that covers it pretty well. Main issues were dry wells, number of bedrooms. Board ready to vote
Yes.
on this motion as proposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. So that passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, next hearing is 45-17, Generation AJW LLC, 742 Nathan Ellis Highway, East Falmouth, a modification of special permit 83-13 to allow 2 1,000-gallon fuel storage tanks.
And board designate, excuse me.
Yeah, Robert.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Generation AJW LLC of Woods Hole, Massachusetts, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a modification of Special Permit 8313 pursuant to Sections 24050 and 24072.3C5 of the Code of Falmouth to allow 2 1,000-gallon fuel tanks on subject property known as 742 Nathan S. Ellis Highway, Hatchville, Massachusetts. And for referrals, engineering has the standard comment. Fire department permits as required per 525 Code of Massachusetts Regulations 1, Fire Prevention Code. Concom, as long as all state and local regulations are carried out for safety and precautions taken to avoid spills. Planning, no comment, and assessors lots 17, 19, and 21. And I don't believe that there was any correspondence submitted.
Okay. And then for the applicant, we have Attorney Oppenheim.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Jeff Oppenheim, representing Generation AJW LLC. I'm joined this evening by the manager of the LLC, Jeff Hamilton, and his wife, Lexi. And our tenant at the property is Hamilton Tree and Landscape, which is well known in our community. We are on a 2.95 acre parcel. The zone is B2. The property was formerly the Nickelodeon, just under 4 years ago, this board granted us a special permit to make that structure into our commercial garage with 2 apartments on the second floor. The chairman was at that point the vice chair of this board, so you may recall that hearing 4 years ago. This evening, we're asking the board to consider a modification of that special permit to add a 10 by 16 concrete pad and a precast concrete vault. And the vault would contain 2 1,000-gallon fuel tanks. And on the site plan, the red area is the vault, the yellow area is the fuel pad, and this shows most of our site, but not all of it, because it extends down to Route 151, and it comes all the way out to this access road over by the ball field. It's 2.95 acres, and that's a very, very small area of the site. Excuse me. If the special permit's granted, we plan on building a simple roof structure over the facility It will be open on all four sides and just have a roof to protect the tanks. The site is in our lower parking lot. It is not visible from 151 and will be hardly visible from the side road by the ball field. It's away from our building, and it's in a parking area which is not accessible to the public. The tanks are double-walled mild carbon steel as per the plan, which was designed by Holmes and McGrath. One tank is for on-road vehicles, and the second tank is for off-road vehicles. The fuel that we would be proposing to be dispensed is diesel, and both tanks have visual sensors which indicate if the interior tank has been breached in any way or has failed. The vault itself will be be made of reinforced concrete, and it's designed to hold 110% of the capacity of both tanks, and that's all per our zoning bylaws. The fuel pad itself is exactly what we're used to seeing at a regular gas station. It has grooves in it to catch minor spills, and provides proper footing for whoever's fueling a vehicle. As far as spills are concerned, we have filed a hazardous spill prevention and response plan with our request for a modification to our special permit. We will have absorbent pads available in case there's a small spill, absorbent socks or booms for containment of any larger spills, and all the employees who are responsible for fueling vehicles will be instructed on the proper usage of the fueling station. Staff will be trained in how to respond to a spill in a case of an emergency. This new little structure, if granted, will have the required fire extinguishers per the code, and the fuel area will be monitored. It is very convenient to the building. We have staff coming and going from that area all day long, so there'll be no problems with monitoring that area. We would anticipate approximately 2 deliveries a month of fuel to this location. And I would direct your attention to the 2 sections of our bylaw that I believe pertain. 240-50, which is for permitted accessory uses. So we have a primary use here as a tree and landscaping facility. It has a commercial garage with offices, and this would be a customarily incidental secondary or permitted accessory use to the primary use. Under section 240-72.3 C5, which is the Water Resource Protection District subparagraph of our bylaw, this section pertains to the storage of liquid hazardous materials as defined by Mass General laws. And it specifies that the storage of above-ground fuel must have secondary containment adequate to contain a spill the size of the container's total storage capacity plus 10%. So our engineer has spec'd a vault that would meet those requirements, 110% of the capacity of the fuel tanks. So the reason we're requesting this of the board is that we have 25 vehicles that are used both on the road and off-road. Bobcats, backhoes, the large tree trucks that you see with the buckets, and it is terribly inefficient for us to be driving these vehicles to, your standard gas station and fueling them up. It's inefficient as to time and to wait to fuel these trucks. In addition, our tenant, Hamilton Tree and Landscape, has contracts with Eversource, and many of their trucks are committed under contract to assist Eversource during weather emergencies. So our ability to fuel our own trucks in a weather emergency is important and would be very helpful to us. Now, the board has to consider the criteria under 240-216 because we're requesting a special permit. And many of these criteria really don't apply to this particular request for modification, but I'd like to quickly go through them. The first criteria is adequacy of the site in terms of the size for the proposed use. I hope this can show you dramatically that there's more than enough room for this proposed use. The suitability of the site for the proposed use, I think it is suitable. It is accessory to our primary use. As far as the impact on traffic flow and safety, I would argue that it is an improvement to traffic flow and safety in that we don't have to take our vehicles to a secondary location to fuel. Impact on the neighborhood and visual character, including views and vistas. We don't have that many neighbors. We are surrounded by land owned by the Commonwealth and some land owned by the town of Falmouth. We have no direct neighbors who have residences. So we don't think that there's any impact on them, and the fueling station is really out of sight, where it's located. You can see from this plan that the contour falls off as you come down this driveway. So this whole area here is several feet lower, and there's lots of vegetation in here. So it's really not visible at all. The adequacy of sewage disposal it's not impacted by this. Source of water and drainage, I don't believe, is either impacted by this. And the adequacy of utilities and other public services, I don't believe, is impacted by our request. And there is no effect on the adequacy or the supply of affordable housing. And the planning board did not hold any hearings or review of this request that we've submitted. So I think that covers 240-216. We're hopeful that the board will find this request reasonable and meet the standards of our bylaw and grant approval, and we'd be very happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks very much, Jeff. Let's see if Robert has any questions.
Just on the monitoring plan, so how often do they do inspections or logs?
Inspections of the vault?
No, yeah, just inspections. Do they log it in when they do inspections of the area, or how are you handling the monitoring plan?
Yes, it's a good question, and there is a log that we submitted with our plan, and it's at the back of my submittal, so there's a spot to
Yeah.
log in.
Is that something they do daily or weekly or
Yes.
daily?
Yeah. You want to address that, Jeff?
Hi, Jeffrey Hamilton. The monitoring's pretty easy. You can see the site tube clearly if they're on top of the tanks to see if there's an internal breach. Visual and using your nose, you'll be able to smell pretty quickly.
That's all that I have.
Okay, Ed, anything?
Do you have any backup power for the pumping from the tanks into the vehicles?
We don't currently. I'm looking into that.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Jim, anything?
Okay, so I think Attorney Oppenheim had said that tanks will have sensors?
Excuse
Did
me?
you say that the tanks will have sensors?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so if there was a breach, it would be, it's electronic sensors that would automatically,
Is it electronic?
or,
It's not even electronic, it's just a piece of cork that floats a rod up to give you a visual sight.
so if you were, so if a breach happened, you're off-site for the night, you come back in the morning, that's when you would first learn of it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just to be clear, that's a breach of the internal tank.
Yes, that was the question, yep. Let me see. Protection. I'm just going through my, so any proposed fencing around this, or?
The whole area is fenced, right, the lower parking lot?
Well, it's gated, the property's gated.
Okay. But no proposed fencing in the immediately adjacent to this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then just so I understand, because I'm not as familiar with this, so you'll have a fueling station on the concrete pad, that's,
The vehicle would be on the concrete
Yes.
pad, and the employee would take the fuel pump and fuel it on the pad.
like you would at a gas station?
Exactly.
Is the piping underground then to that?
No, it's a flexible hose, just like in a gas station.
Okay, but I mean, sorry, running from the remote fill station to the underground, up to the storage tanks? Would the piping be underground so that fuel would be traveling out?
No,
No.
this is the rubber hose, just like at a gas station.
Okay, all right. That was all I had.
Okay. TJ?
The engineering comment did include mentioning stormwater runoff with the roof structure that's proposed to protect the tanks. Are you anticipating any sort of runoff from there?
So we have a area that runs the whole length of that parking lot where the drainage off of the parking lot goes into. That was in the plan we presented in 2013. So the water is running into this, what is it called? Just a dry well, essentially.
Street drain.
Okay, and I did have another question. I was inspired by 240-7236 about this. Given the use of the property, is there any commercial fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, anything
Yes.
located around the
Yes.
proposed fuel tank?
Not around the proposed fuel tank itself, but under our initial special permit, we submitted and were granted the right to use certain chemicals and pesticides under specific conditions granted by the board. I can pull out the decision from 2013, but we have storage lockers and Jeff and people in his company have been licensed for 39 years to handle, hazardous chemicals.
Sure. And any of that material will be a safe distance away from the fuel facility?
It's contained inside the building, so it's about 80 or 100 feet.
Okay. He can
Just press that button.
Well, it's in this building, part of the building.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Is this going to be gasoline or diesel? Because I noticed you said on and off road, and that's fuel that's taxable and untaxable, if I remember correctly.
Both tanks are for diesel fuel.
Okay, so that's far less volatile.
Correct.
And I guess that was interesting. Would you consider this to be an improvement to public service, emergency services for Eversource during snowstorms and other outages?
I would, Jerry. I mean, it could very well be that our fueling, our regular public gas stations are not available, and, we have contracts we want to honor, plus that's the way that we get the electricity back on if we get the trees off the lawn.
And the last question is there any video surveillance either on these tanks versus the entire property?
Yes, I have think it's 5 exterior cameras on the property.
And we also have people who are living at the property on the second floor so that the site is protected.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay, yeah, I recall that that was part of the original special permit as well, right? That and has that been reliably occupied
Yes, very much so.
year-round?
Yes.
Okay. And I have a couple of questions about the pad, the construction of the pad. So you mentioned grooves, but I wasn't clear on whether that is like a little gutter around the edge of the pad, or just sort of, traction grooves, or what?
Yeah, it's like a double groove system very near the perimeter of the pad.
Perimeter of the pad. And then does that direct if there were a spill on the pad itself, does that direct whatever's caught to some catchment or basin somewhere? Or?
No, that's where the containment socks or absorbent pads would come in.
And then lastly, the roof structure, does that go over the pad as well?
No, it's only over the tanks. The object there is to keep rainwater between the vault and the tanks, so that if it filled up with water and froze in the winter, it could be problematic.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I ask is if there was any fuel spilled on the pad, then, and it rains, then, you have the possibility it's washing off. But if it's protected, I suppose you wouldn't.
We would use the containment socks to absorb it all.
Okay. Okay. I think, so those are the board questions, I think, at the moment, unless someone else has something that's popped into their mind. So let me just open it up and see if there's any public comment, either in favor or opposed, or... Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name for the record.
Evening, Board. Mr. Chair. My name's Scott Slinsky. I also sat on that hearing. I am in favor of the application, but I do have a few questions, seeing I live in the area. Lighting around the unit. Is there any proposed lighting around the fueling station? Signage with placards and bollards for deliveries to make sure nobody runs into the external containment unit.
Okay,
Those are
let's see if we can
questions I
get
have.
those questions
Thank
answered
you.
for you.
We can answer those questions. We don't have any proposed lighting on the building, but, if that's a requirement, we can do that. The signage will all be to code and will be governed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations. That's the signage on a fueling station. We are showing bollards on the plan so that someone can't drive into the concrete vault. So that's been considered by our engineer. The type, there's a couple of bollards right at the front corners of the structure. You can see them on the plan.
Yeah,
Can I ask a clarifying question?
absolutely.
Are the bollards for the refueling station as well, so someone doesn't hit where you're pumping from? When you go into a gas station, there's usually bollards around the fueling station versus the tanks themselves. They're both above ground.
So I'm not sure I understand your question. I think the tanks are the fueling station, essentially, right?
The pad.
Oh, the pad. Bollards around the pad.
Okay, how do you get fuel from the tank to the vehicle? Is a pump, or is it all gravity from the tank? Which I think you said before, and I might
Well,
have missed.
it's a pump system, just like at a gas station, with the rubber hose with a nozzle where you control the flow from the nozzle.
So is that pump system on the pad or against the, is there a chance of a vehicle hitting that and causing a spill?
No. The bollard system protects both the vault and the tanks that are within the vault.
Okay.
Which protects the pumping system, is that?
The pump's right on top of the tank.
Oh, okay, that's what I was missing.
So it's not a remote fill. I think that's you fill directly from the tank. It's not
Yes,
as if a
that's
gas
correct.
station where it's remote. Okay.
Right, it's not a big underground.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was confused on. Thank you.
Okay. I think Scott did raise an interesting question, though, with respect to lighting, because it's conceivable, especially during winter storms, for example, if you're out plowing or something, that you'd be working at night and need refills. Is that?
There's two big, tall light poles on that, I guess it's the southeast side of the property that can be activated to illuminate that area. I could certainly add lights to the fueling station. I'm not trying to attract people to it, but we could certainly, we have to have electricity there anyway to run the pump, so adding lights wouldn't be a problem at all.
Right,
If
and
that
I
was
would
a stipulation.
imagine you'd only use those. They wouldn't have to be illuminated except when you were
Well, you
if
absolutely
using
had
the
to
thing at
use
night.
it at night.
Okay, that might be something we want to think about including. Any other questions from the public? Okay. Does the board feel like they have enough information?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll move to close.
Second.
Okay, Kim and Ed to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and do we have a motion with respect to the special permit request modification? From someone.
I'll move to approve.
Second it.
Okay, Kim and Ed also to approve. And then, Kim, what would you have for
Yes.
finding?
Oh, this one's kind of a difficult one. So I think it's it's an accessory use to the initial special permit. It's pretty, well, we can do 24216. Not even, not observable from the road. Increase utilization of the property for the applicant. That there is an that there is a monitoring system and a monitoring plan in place, and I forget the specific name of that. What was it? Hazardous, but we can put the specific name. And that employees will be trained to monitor the tanks. Approximately 2 deliveries of diesel fuel per month. That they're going to be putting proposed bollards and a roof structure over the enclosure. And that there's a concrete pad which will be ridged to contain spills, if any. Oh, and also that they'll have like spill stuff on site to contain, hazard, whatever you want to call it. I think the lighting, I guess we could have talked about that. I think the lighting makes sense. I don't know if everybody else agrees. Some lighting, at least, maybe 2
I think
lights.
in terms of findings, we can certainly find that the applicant was amenable to
Yes.
adding lighting.
Yes,
Well, it was also stated that they had lighting on the building.
yes.
Could be put on there.
And signage will be in accordance with Code of Mass regulations. Those are my findings.
Yeah, it seems like we want to make a specific finding about they have suitable safeguards in accordance with,
I think it was 527 CMR 1.
and there's a section of the bylaw as well, 72
72.3C.
3C5.
I guess we should make a finding about the...
Which is that they can contain 110%
Yes.
of the
capacity.
capacity. So, yeah, you had something else you were thinking.
No, that's, I just didn't want to speak over it.
That seemed to cover it. Sari, any thoughts?
No. Well, I think you, I can make a finding that testimony was they do have 5 cameras on site.
Cameras on site is
And
a
I
good
also
one.
put in here that the employees are trained for spills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was mentioned.
I think conditions, if
Yeah.
I may.
You may. In fact, you are encouraged.
Okay, per plans. Per plans. And I would say addition of lights
A
to,
plan, applicant to submit a plan for lighting? I mean,
I
it
don't know
could
if that's
just be as simple
necessary.
as lights over on the roof that shine onto the
yes,
pad
Right.
area.
I think that's probably,
So what is the actual condition?
Lighting, I think we want lighting that could be activated
If you,
if the, turned on, whatever you want to
You
say.
want
If
motion
you-
sensor
So what is
lighting?
sensor
oh,
lights?
motion
Sensor
sensor
lights.
lighting, yeah.
Well, they indicated there's already lights on the building they can turn on.
yeah,
I
but
know,
it may
but-
not cover the tent.
Yeah, actually, he said light poles,
It's-
not lights on the building.
Right.
so-
Yes,
And I see one light pole on the plan here, but,
The other one's further down.
yeah, I think it would be nice to have
But I-
something right
you know, you just to prevent.
there.
Okay, motion sensor lighting at tank.
Could I ask, motion sensing, at least at my home and others, wind and other things can set off the light if the light's not going to be detrimental to other people. I thought we wanted the light
If there's
for
no
ref-
activity, it shuts off after a certain amount of
Well,
time.
and
You
even
can
if,
set that.
even if there's
Okay.
motion, it's on that side of the, it's
Yeah.
away from the, this is so far set back from the road. There's
it's a large-
Well,
property
that's
in
actually a security
between.
issue too. I mean, if someone goes out there and activates the light, hopefully
The
they'll run
video
away.
cameras will pick it up.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that
So,
it?
I think that covers it. Ready to vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Passes unanimously. Yep.
Who's gonna be the clerk?
Okay, so that takes us to our next hearing, which is 047-17, 73 Oak Street and T-Ticket, a special permit to construct a 2-story addition to a dwelling and a deck.
And I am recusing from this.
Okay, so Kim's recusing, then we
we
need a
both-
new clerk, so that could be, Ed, do you mind being the clerk for this one?
So both associates will be sitting.
And that both associates will sit. That's all right.
What's that?
Yep, so we just need you to read the announcement there.
A list of abutters is on file in the office of the Board of Appeals, Town Hall, Falmouth, Massachusetts, being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11, Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws. You are hereby notified that Terry and Lauren Thomas of Canton, Massachusetts, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Section 243C of the Code of Falmouth to construct a deck and additional creating new habitable space within the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling on subject property known as 73 Oak Street, T-Ticket, Mass.
Okay, and,
Referrals?
yeah, referrals, and then pass out the plan if we could.
Standard comments from engineering. Conservation Commission provided all stormwater is contained on property from construction. That's it.
Okay. And for the applicant, we have,
David McMenemy, representing Terry Thomas as my clerk.
okay,
What we're doing is just putting an addition on a little house. Right now, it's 528 square feet, 3 bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, and a living. It's a little tight. And so we're just going to be building a 20 feet across the front, 22 feet back.
just to put a master bedroom upstairs, a new living room on the first floor. And it's gonna be a full cellar, no one's gonna be living in it, just to bring all the utilities into it, we're hooking up to town storage. So we're gonna, crush the old septic tank and all that. And we're gonna redo the roof and everything on the old cottage and re-shingle it, just bring it up to date. And I think I heard you say that all the decks are being taken off. It's gonna be a stone patio. Out there, everything, all the wood's coming off the back of the decks.
Okay. That's a pretty straightforward explanation. Let's see if the board has any questions. Jerry, any questions?
No question.
TJ?
What is the existing nonconformity to the property?
I think it's like 18 feet to the street. We're gonna set it back like 1.5 to 2 feet right through that area.
So it'll be an actual improvement from,
Oh, yeah,
from the
step it
existing?
backwards, yeah.
No, the existing non-conformity will remain. He's saying
It
the
remains the same, the
addition,
new addition, yes.
the addition will be set back
Okay.
21 feet. The existing structure is not changing, just being cleaned up.
Looks like 19.4 on the plan.
It's 18.4.
Right, but the proposed addition,
Oh, excuse me, yes, I.
1 foot
apologize.
further back.
Yes.
And the proposed height of the addition?
I don't have it, but I remember top of my head, probably about 26 feet.
Okay, so you're well under the
Yeah,
35,
just a cake.
okay?
I-
And if you could address the engineering and conservation's comments about stormwater, that'll be contained on the property?
Sure.
Are there dry wells on the plans, or?
No, we'll take care of it.
All right, that does it for me.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, you don't believe they're necessary, or you,
I don't think they're necessary, it's all sand right there, and there's plenty of room. It's not gonna go to anyone's yard or anything, where the location is.
The height is 24.1 and a half.
But if you want dry wells, we'll put dry wells.
okay, you're willing to do it.
Sure.
I think the engineer, there was an engineering comment to that effect.
I did speak with the owner, and he said he'd be amenable.
Okay. Ed?
I don't have any questions.
No questions.
Looks pretty
Okay.
straightforward.
Yep, and they're going from 14.5% lot coverage to 16%.
16.
So it's a very modest increase, I guess, because they're removing the back deck and substituting the patio. So, let's see if, and then this is going on the sewer, so there's no septic
Town
issues
storage,
at
yeah.
all. The bedroom count, is that changing?
It's gonna be one more,
One more.
yeah.
Going
Just a
from,
master bedroom in the new part, up the second floor.
so from what to what?
3 7x9 ones to one decent-sized bedroom. So there's 3 in the old one,
Mm-hmm.
and then 1 in the new house.
So 4?
So 4
So
total.
4 altogether, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's see if anyone in the public has any questions or concerns. Anybody out there concerned about Oak Street? No? Okay. Does the board have enough information?
I think so.
Stay
Make a
straightforward.
motion to close.
Okay, Ed moves to close. Is there a second?
I'll second.
TJ seconds. Beat Robert to it. Any further discussion?
You're closing the
Or,
hearing.
yeah, that's right, we closed, I'm sorry. Motion is what I guess I'm looking for.
Call the vote first for the
Oh,
closing.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor of closing?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm here for you, Ken.
Thanks. Carries unanimously. Okay, now we want a motion either in favor of the permit or not.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, TJ moves to approve,
Second it.
and Ed seconds.
All right. There is no increase in the nonconformity, which is the front yard setback. 240, 216. Let's see. Sorry, just because I like the language you use, but I can't quite come up with it. It enhances the usability.
It enhances the utilization.
Utilization.
For the residents of the property.
That's it.
And it's an improvement to
The area.
the existing structure as well.
Definitely is.
Improvement to the neighborhood, too.
It's an overall improvement, how's that?
They're going to abandon the septic and then hook up to town sewer.
Yes.
That's certainly a finding.
They'll be going from 3 to 4 bedrooms. Applicant is amenable to adding dry wells. And the existing basement, I believe, is unfinished, and it will continue to be
The
unfinished.
existing is, there isn't any basement,
Oh,
The
there-
hearing's closed.
and the new one would just be storage.
That was a clarification.
So the finding will be that testimony said that the new basement will be for storage? Is that? 'Cause
I
we're still
believe
on
that was
findings.
the statement.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's just about it for findings, unless anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I think an important finding is that the addition is set back, you may have mentioned this, 1 foot further than the current front yard setback, so,
Then existing nonconformity?
yes.
How about the height? The height
I think they,
Height's
is
gonna be
well below the required.
26.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Conditions?
Conditions, I guess per plans or per revised plans, if,
It's up to you how you want to do it, per plans, and just have,
Well,
the dry well really should go at the back left corner, if you look at the grades on the property, or the, you know. But it's up to, do you want to go by by the engineer's?
I'm fine with leaving it up to their engineer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So addition of dry wells is necessary as per engineer recommendations. Okay. Sari, you think we have that pretty well covered then?
No more than 4 bedrooms, yes,
Okay, no more than 4
and
bedrooms.
no bedrooms in the basement.
When we say, excuse me, when we say engineering, we mean town engineering, right?
No,
Any engineer?
Their own engineer.
they have
Their
their
engineer
Okay.
for the details on the place.
Okay, just,
We're relying on the town engineer as to
It's
the
the
rec-
best practice based on the
Okay.
property.
as to the recommendation for the necessity.
yeah, well, in other words, he'd come back and say, we prefer it, it's not necessary.
Well, I think the idea is that it's necessary, but
No,
the
it'll
exact
be dry
placement.
walls installed per best,
The exact.
Oh, okay,
Engineering.
dry wells installed per
Right.
best engineering practices.
But we're not going
Okay.
to
According
dictate
to the
where they
site.
go.
Yeah.
and all that. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
And myself as well, so that passes unanimous.
All right, thank you very much.
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Thank you.
Kim can return.
Take the rubber band.
Okay, the next hearing is 048-17, Luckner, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, 15 Pennsylvania Avenue in Falmouth.
and what board member will be sitting on this one?
I've lost track. Let's have it beat Jerry.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Lorraine Luckner of Falmouth, Massachusetts, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Section 240-3 of the Code of Falmouth to raise and reconstruct the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling on subject property known as 15 Pennsylvania Avenue, Falmouth. For referrals, a notice of intent this is from Conservation Commission. A notice of intent shall be reviewed by Concom on August 2nd, 2017 hearing located within Falmouth Velocity Zone. From engineering is the standard comment, but then it says thank you for utilizing dry wells for the roof for this project. Assessors includes lots 15 and 17. Fire department, no comment. And planning, no comment. There's one letter of support, one letter with no objections, and right before the hearing tonight, we received a letter, which is short, so I'll just read, in case the applicant hasn't received it. Says, I, Regina Walsh Wagner, reside at 11 Pennsylvania Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. since 1944. The purpose of this letter of submittal is to request that the large tree between our properties be removed, as the roots of this tree has caused a crack in my foundation. I request that this tree removal be a condition of the special permit.
And there's a email that I received late today from the Board of Health as well.
Would you like me to read that too, Sri?
It's up to you guys.
Okay. Good morning, Sri. I was recently contacted by a representative of the Longfellow Group to review a proposed remodeling project for 15 Pennsylvania Avenue to determine the number of bedrooms resulting from the work intended. I determined that the construction plan showed a 4-bedroom project at completion, understanding that the town records indicate a 3-bedroom dwelling, but the homeowner perceived their house to actually have 4 bedrooms historically. I volunteered to perform an inspection of the dwelling to determine the number of bedrooms that actually existed. I inspected the dwelling the week of July 31st, 2017, and counted 4 rooms that appear to be bedrooms and contemporaneous with the construction of house. In other words, these rooms do not appear to be recent additions or conversions. I advised the builder to make arrangements with the assessor's department for them to perform an inspection and change the town record if deemed appropriate. Dave.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to notify the board that I'm a member of the same civic organization as the applicant, but I feel I can be fair and impartial.
Okay. Anyone on the board have any issues?
No, I'm actually also in the same civic organization.
Okay.
Can I make a point?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, I did not get that letter until just before these hearings started. It was hand-delivered, so I'm sorry you didn't get a copy, but
Not a problem.
we just got it as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Why don't you proceed?
Thank you. For the record, my name is Jeff Nickerson. I'm an attorney here in town. I represent Lorraine Luckner, who owns the property at 15 Pennsylvania Ave. I just wanted to clarify, there were 2 emails in support, 1 letter and 1 email in support, so I just wanted to make sure that they're both in the record.
I think we said 1 letter of support, 1 letter with no objections, so we might be
Yeah, they're
referring
both
to
there.
the same thing.
So we're here tonight seeking permission from the zoning board to raise and reconstruct the pre-existing non-conforming dwelling at Pennsylvania Avenue, number 15. The existing garage, which is in the northwest portion of the property, is going to remain. That's not going to change at all. According to the assessor's records, this dwelling was constructed in 1928. The property is in a single residence C zoning district, and it's non-conforming as to the front yard setback. We're required to have 25 feet according to the code. At present, we have 10.8 feet. The dwelling and improvements are further non-conforming as to lot coverage. The maximum lot coverage by structure in this zoning district is 20%. We're currently at 35.5%. Maximum amount of lot coverage by structure, paving, and parking is 40%, and at present, we have 62.7%. According to Falmouth Code 243C, pre-existing non-conforming structures may be extended, altered, or changed only by special permit from the Board of Appeals. Any such change, extension, or alteration shall not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming use or structure. The code goes on to provide that relevant considerations include special permit considerations under 24216, whether the change or alteration will lessen the nonconformity of the existing structure, and whether the use proposed otherwise complies with the requirements of the Falmouth Code. For the proposed reconstruction, the front yard setback is going to remain the same at 10.8 feet, so that's going to remain non-conforming. Where we're going to improve this is by reducing the lot coverage by structure. We're going to go from 35.5% to 34%. We're also going to improve the lot coverage by structures, paving, and parking by going from 62.7% to 56.9%. In all other respects, this dwelling is going to comply with the code as to side yard and rear yard setbacks, as well as to height requirements. Maximum height allowed is 35 feet. We're going to be at 34 feet 11 inches, and maximum number of stories is 2.5 stories, and this will have 2.5 stories. It's our position that neighborhood views and vistas are not going to be impaired. We're going from 2 stories to 2.5. Our neighbors, in 2 instances across the street on Pennsylvania, have indicated that they either support or have no objection to this proposal. The building envelope is actually going to improve as to the westerly side of the structure. So if you look on the plan, we're currently at 10.4 feet away from our westerly lot line. That's going to improve to 16.7. So we're going to lose 6 feet worth of structure on that side. Falmouth Heights is a neighborhood that's kind of undergoing a change. I mean, we're all familiar with it. There are some really large houses that are out there. There are some small houses. There are some small houses that have become larger houses through the same process that we're here discussing tonight. I submitted several photographs for the board's consideration with a letter about a week ago, representative of some of the larger homes in the area. I would suggest that the proposed reconstruction, as shown by the floor plans and by the elevations that the board has, is consistent with a lot of the changes happening in the area. There's also the criteria to be considered under 240-216. We feel that the site is adequate for the proposed use. Again, we're going to reduce the dimensional nonconformity as to coverage. Current dwelling has 2,135 square feet of coverage, including porches. It's going to be reduced to 2,013. The site is suitable for the proposed use because the residential nature of the use is going to remain. It's going to be a one-family dwelling. There's no expected impact on traffic flow or safety. The new structure will not detrimentally impact neighborhood views and vistas. The septic system is going to be adequate to serve the reconstructed dwelling. Dry wells are being incorporated, as noted by the engineering department in their referral. And public utilities are adequate to serve the new dwelling the same way that they are to serve the existing dwelling. There will be no effect of adequacy of supply of affordable housing, and site plan review in this case was not required. It's also worth noting that the dwelling, other than maintaining the existing 10.8-foot setback, will comply in all other respects other than lot coverage with Falmouth Code. The applicant, therefore, would respectfully ask that this board issue a special permit allowing the raising and reconstruction of this dwelling in accordance with the plans that the board has.
Okay. Let's start with Jerry for questions.
I have no questions. I think the plan's very well done. You provided substantial information.
Thank you.
TJ.
If I understand the Board of Health's email that we just received, I guess if the applicant wishes, then the assessors will come in and then rate the house. I think it's 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, currently the assessor has the present house of 3, but it's historically been a 4-bedroom house.
Okay. And the existing septic, what is that rated?
It was inspected last in 1998, and it was indicated it was a 4-bedroom system.
Okay, so you'll be all set once. If we, if we approve the project.
I think so.
Okay. And Pennsylvania Avenue, that's not on the septic, the sewer?
No, it's not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Kim?
Sure, so could you just tell me a little bit about the use of that third, or I know you're 2.5 story, but the top floor?
Yep. It's not a bedroom. That's why we were concerned enough to talk about it with Mr. Carrigan in advance. There are 4 bedrooms shown in total on the first and second floor. It's just a viewing area. There's no privacy, there's no closet. The way that you get up there is through a set of stairs. There's no door at the bottom of the stairs. It's purely intended as a viewing area and as access to the attic space which is adjacent to it. And that attic space will contain a lot of the mechanicals for the project based on where the flood zone sits.
Okay, and the Courage Ridge height, I just wanted to confirm, it's 21 feet 4 inches?
Correct.
And you're proposing to go to 34 feet 11 inches?
Yes.
Okay. And then, did you perform any bulk calculations or anything like that?
I did. I didn't know if you guys might be interested. So what I did was I took the square footage of other structures in the area. It's not just residences, because we have things like the BBC and the Shoreway Acres. And so I took that square footage and I multiplied by the number of stories to calculate what the mass would be. So that's some calculations.
Thank you.
So I would note that I put 15 Pennsylvania down at the bottom, and this would be as proposed in terms of square footage. You know, it's not the lowest mass calculation that's out there, but it's certainly not the highest either. So I would suggest that it falls very much in line with the character of this neighborhood.
So lot coverage wasn't taken into account on that?
No, I just
No.
used the square
Size
footage.
per building?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, that was all I have for questions. Oh, I do have a question, sorry, about just the existing garage. No changes proposed?
None.
Okay, and is it unfinished?
Yeah, it's not habitable space,
Okay.
just for a vehicle.
Great, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Just for clarification, are you installing a new Title V system?
No, that's not the intent.
So on the previous inspection that was in the report from, I think, '98, it showed 70 gallons per flow per bedroom, and it also mentioned a garbage disposal. So whatever they require will be for 4 bedrooms. Are they keeping garbage disposal in the new home, or?
No.
Okay. That's all I have.
I guess I have questions about its elevation, because it's in the, I presume, the velocity zone. You're elevating how many feet to the first floor from
So the
grade?
first floor is going to be at elevation 15. We're actually in the Falmouth velocity zone. We're outside the velocity zone as it relates to the federal flood standards, but the Falmouth zone goes an extra 25 feet back. And so it's going to be at elevation 15. You know, as you're standing there, it's going to be 7 feet above grade will be where the
Okay.
first floor begins.
That's what I thought I saw on the plan. And is that space then enclosed?
It will be enclosed, yes.
And is it used in any way?
Only as storage. It wouldn't be habitable.
But there is access for storage.
Right.
Where is that? Is that?
Well, so I don't know if you have the floor plans.
Yeah.
There's actually in that space also going to be a carport or garage at the back of the structure. And so the stairs would come from that carport up to the first floor.
Let's see. Do you know which? A2, A3, A1.
Oh, it's on A5. You can see the north elevation. Just references to carport. It's kind of difficult to make out. It's right there.
Okay. So that's really that, and some storage is the only use for that.
Correct.
I think that most of the other questions I had were addressed. So, if there's no further questions from the board, let's just see if anybody in the public wants to comment.
I had a question for clarification.
Sure.
I assume when you were referring to Shoreway Acres, you meant the motel that's at 247 Grand
sorry,
Ave, and
yes.
it's not Shoreway Acres, I don't
Yeah,
think.
my apologies. I'm at the,
I couldn't think of it either, in on something.
man,
That's okay, just,
yeah. The timeshare is down there.
yeah.
Yeah.
In season resort.
Look at all of that.
A question for the chairman.
Yeah.
Is the relevancy of the tree, I think that's outside of our,
It's a good point to bring that up, yeah. Do you have any comments on the tree?
Yes, so I've discussed that with my client. My client has discussed it with her neighbor. And it'll be addressed as long as it's permissible to be addressed under conservation. We don't want to go chopping trees down and then
That's fair.
get
Yeah.
landslapped. So my client has spoken with the folks over at Davy Tree about the possibility of seeing what we can do for the tree.
I would agree that it's sort of between the neighbors, it's really not pertinent to
That's right.
this application. All right. So Kim would like to have a little discussion, so why don't you begin?
Yeah, so just before we close the public hearing, I mean, I just review this, and I think this seems to be the trend in Falmouth Heights, this 2.5-story, which, I mean, I just find the height of the structure proposed, 34 feet, 11 inches, is high, and then you're building out on that top level with an observatory, which just seems a little bit gratuitous to me. I do understand you're bringing down lot coverage by 1.5%, but you're still way over. You're at 34%. You're bringing down total lot coverage, but you're still way over at total lot coverage. To me, it's just that coupled with the proposed height. Even if the height complies, I think viewing it all together, I just find it to be too bulky. I think in order for me to vote in favor of it, I would be interested in seeing a bulk calculation including lot coverage. Just to see how this compares to other things in the neighborhood. But I think viewing this alone without the information, I wouldn't be able to vote.
So you'd like more information on the comparison of the bulk and lot coverage to the abutters, abutting
Yes,
property?
yeah, and taking into consideration the lot coverage, because this lot coverage is pretty, I mean, fairly substantial,
I
I would say.
disagree.
And so I think that coupled with the height is a concern. They're going for 21 feet 4 inches to 34 feet 11 inches. And I understand that they're kind of finagling it down to make it, you know, decrease or, you know, reduce their nonconformities or improve them. But I just think you're still nonconforming and now you're adding a significant height to the mix.
But by the same token, isn't part of the height increase because of the 7-foot elevation? So they're cut between, try to comply with, you know, flooding and other requirements. I think, fortunately, unfortunately, I think I'm very familiar with the neighborhood, and I just don't see the bulk as an issue. If you walk around the neighborhood, you're right, they're all over the place, and this is not a singular instance. I don't think it's an instance where this would substantially be detrimental to the neighborhood to allow it to go forward. If you just
Yeah, so the height doesn't necessarily bother me as much as having it built out and having that large dormer up there. I think that adds to the perceived massing of it. That's my concern with that.
Does anyone else share Kim's concerns?
I like the idea of the bulk calculations with lot coverage. I just think they should also be compared more to the residences versus
I agree
the
with
commercial uses. I mean, because that's going to throw off the general calculations anyways.
But if it's what the character of the neighborhood is, if it's, lack of a better word, mixed by commercial and residential, the character of the neighborhood is both mixed and residential, and the bulk will be impacted by both residential and commercial. To skew the calculations one way or the other, it's no longer an average. You could have an average of the residential, but that wouldn't be an average of the neighborhood.
But if you're using something like that, like Surfside, that was originally a hotel, that pretty much has massive lot coverage. You need to do, you can't do apples and oranges. You have to be more, you know, more specific.
Well, is the bulk coverage, is the bulk storage based on the character of the neighborhood? Because if that's it, you have to take the entire neighborhood into consideration. You can't look at it through the lens of just residential. Considering the neighborhood, that it's a highly dense neighborhood that probably was built up over the years with various standards, and, you know, went from residential, seasonal, to now where we have commercial and There's 3 condos not too far from that are pretty high, where the old not Lucerne, it used to be a restaurant and bar,
What I would just say is that
Lawrence's.
So, and I guess this goes to Bob's point, but where some of those commercial, like the BBC, the motel, that's in a B3 district. This district is an RC district. And I don't feel strongly either way, but I think we should be probably comparing what the lot coverage is in the neighborhood in the RC district. I'm okay with it generally, too, including
Budding
businesses.
residential uses, I
But-
think that's
But
appropriate.
I think what's appropriate, yeah, is the RC district.
I guess I can't support it because I think it's, I mean, if they want to support it, submit it for the record, but I don't think how that would significantly change my viewing of this.
Well, it might not, but I think that Kim's point is that we need, this is a sensitive area where, because of the flood regulations, there is a lot of pressure to build up and increase bulk. And we
Yes.
want to have a reasonable justification for approving.
But is that not necessarily, I mean, it's in a floodplain area, it's existing, it's heavily residential. To me, it's a problem that exists, that is going to continue to exist, and the viewing area on the top is probably, in my mind, in my opinion, in my observation, would be a nice character, and would necessarily be like it's a square box that would be ugly to everybody. The architecture was done in keeping with the neighborhood.
So do we have a board consensus so we can move?
Yeah. I mean, so it seems to me that what we're really saying is, do we want to continue this to get additional information on bulk calculations for adjacent residential properties? Or do we want to have a vote? In which case, I think Kim is going to vote against.
I will indeed, yeah.
Could
So
we
what-
poll the members? I mean, if there's 4 for,
Certainly
1
can.
against, it will go
I would
forward.
just add, I would just add, I think if people are inclined to vote in favor of it, it certainly doesn't hurt your position to have more information
Right.
in the record.
But it doesn't help it either.
Yes, it does.
Well, it
It
helps you.
supports your decision. No, it supports your decision. And if you're concerned that it supports me, that means that there's merit to my position.
No, your position has merit to you. It may not have merit to, I mean, I guess,
All right,
I don't need
Jerry,
it.
we've got it. Let's take a
Okay.
No
consensus
debating
poll.
amongst yourselves.
Robert,
we can
what's your,
debate, we can have-
what would you like to do?
Well, I'd like
Continue.
more information, but I'm not voting on this, but
But-
I think continuing just for the additional information, it can't hurt.
Okay, Ed,
Yeah, I go along with that.
You
Kim, we know.
that I would like it, yeah.
TJ?
I agree with the rest of the board.
Okay. And so, in that case, let's entertain a motion to continue.
Can we
And-
continue it to next week? That's the perfect week to do it if that gives you enough time.
We'll make it be enough time.
Are you
Okay.
sure?
Yeah, we'll do whatever we can to be
I can
present.
send you how
And-
I
and-
do it, if that'll help any.
Sure, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I was going to
Because I
say,
told
Jeff,
him I would help him
you
with
understand
this.
what the board is asking.
Right, so, just so.
First of all, I think we want apples to apples. Don't include large residential or commercially zoned properties in the calculation.
So notwithstanding the fact that the bylaw says
If the-
average dimensions in the neighborhood,
In the neighborhood, but certainly within that zoning category, right?
excuse me, Mark.
For the record, I'm Mark Bogosian of Longfellow Design Build. One of the calculations I think might be helpful that we could try to add would be the bulk calculations of home that are now meeting the FEMA regulations, because we designed this house
I
based
think
off
that's reasonable.
28 feet of space to work with, which is keeping really with the size of that house, just brought up for the floodplain.
I think we should, I think that would be helpful to say, okay, these houses meet FEMA, these houses do not, but include all of them.
And
Is
that
that-
includes the lot size as well.
Correct, but that way we can show that as a calculation that will allow everybody to see, wait, we're working with a smaller window
to try to put the houses. And in doing that, one of the problems we're having is the roof lines become much flatter in the design.
Yeah.
So by adding some sort of dimension and depth to them, it creates a much more visually pleasing design. So that's why we're trying to find these little observatories with little bump outs so it's not just too much flat roof heading up.
All
due to
right,
the
so,
pitch.
oh, sorry, next week, is
Yep.
that okay with you?
Okay, so,
So the analysis will also include analysis of lot coverage of adjacent properties?
yes.
I may
So
not be
how
here
is,
next week.
where does it rank? Usually what we do.
Rob is here, so we'll still have that.
Okay. Usually what we do is we say, you know, where does it rank in terms of lot coverage, where does it rank in terms of both, before you make the change and after you make the change. So
I
if
can
you're-
help you with that.
if you're
I'll
going
show
from-
you what I do.
You know, 47th out of 47 properties to first, that's
I may not be
substantial.
here next week. I didn't think we had a meeting.
Yeah, we do have a meeting.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. I'm not gonna be here.
Well, the only other meeting that.
The
well,
17th?
The 17th, that's 2 weeks.
I would ask, we are trying to,
2 members are not going to be here, so then you'd be down to 4 members.
You might be happy to have me gone, though. So
Don't say anything, Mark.
Let's make it the 17th, if everyone can make it.
Thank you.
Can everyone make it on the 17th? Okay, so let's have a motion to continue to the 17th.
Make a motion to continue the 17th.
That's Ed, is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Kim seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
At 6:30.
6:30 here in Town Hall. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, I'll send you what I usually do so you can see.
Okay.
So on the 17th, 6:30, because the other one's
And
at
our
6? Yeah.
final,
Oh, well,
Excuse me, I apologize.
want to catch them?
They're gone. That night, we start at 6. We have a 40B, so we'll have to interrupt and then resume. Sorry about that. Thank you, Bob. I forgot. My apologies.
all right, our final public hearing for tonight is 051-17, RVK Real Estate at 372 Mara Vista in Tewksbury. And Mrs. Clerk could read the
Ken? Member?
And let's see, Robert this time.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that RVK Real Estate LLC of Southborough, Massachusetts, applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Section 240-3 of the Code of Falmouth to construct an addition creating a mudroom addition on the north side of an existing garage and an addition above garage creating habitable space for a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling on subject property known as 372 Mara Vista Avenue, Teatigat, Massachusetts. Let's see, referrals. Located within flood zone A, does this require meeting base flood elevation 12 for building department for 1 foot above, control storm gutters to dry wells and or trench drain and driveway? That was COMCOM's referral. Engineering has the standard comment, and this is thank you for including dry wells for the roofs on this plan. We will not approve a driveway permit for access to a town right-of-way that includes a trench drain for stormwater mitigation. They are prone to clogging and are rarely maintained. We recommend revising the plans to show a driveway that we can approve a permit for. For information only, please note that Mara Vista Ave has a road moratorium until April 2022. Assessors includes lots 57, 58, 87, 88, and 89. Fire department, no comment, and planning, no comment. There was one letter with comments that I believe has been forwarded to you. And that is...
And there is something from Mike Burselli, working with the town engineering, and I guess you'll explain that, okay?
Yes,
So
great.
she doesn't have to read that.
Thank you.
Okay, for the applicant,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the applicant, Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering. I represent the applicant along with Beatrice Bunker, the architect, if there's specific questions about the design. The property in question is located at 372 Mara Vista Avenue. Mara Vista Avenue is actually on 3 streets. It's on the corner of Boston and Mara Vista, and it's also on the corner, the property is also on the corner of Brockton and Mara Vista. The site is currently occupied by a 4-bedroom, single-family dwelling, and the applicant wishes to propose some renovations that provided more comfort and more usable living space. There are 4 bedrooms. There will be 4 bedrooms subsequent to the renovation. This section of Mara Vista is served by town sewer, so the house will be served by town sewer. Since the lot is on a corner, there's a provision in the zoning bylaw regarding setbacks to front yards when on a corner. So we, with the assistance of Sari, consulted with the building commissioner about designation of which street to be the front yard. The logical front yard and the formal front yard is on Mara Vista. The building commissioner concurred. Therefore, the front yard, for purposes of setback, is Mara Vista, and side yards from either Boston or Brockton, those are not front yard setbacks. This house is pre-existing non-conforming because it doesn't meet the required front yard setback to Mara Vista Avenue. It's only set back 9.7 feet. It's also non-conforming because it doesn't meet the side yard setback at this corner. It's only 7 feet. We're proposing to modify the pre-existing non-conforming structure, as I stated, to make the house more comfortable and usable, and it'll include addition of a second story. And it'll also include ground coverage increases in 2 places, and I've highlighted those in an orange color as compared to the brown of the existing house. This will be infilled for mudroom area, and the space that's currently garage will be added onto here, and garage doors will be proposed here, and a new driveway is proposed here. I will speak to that in a little bit more detail. The current driveway is on Mara Vista Avenue. The applicant intends to keep that, but the garage doors and the access to the garage will no longer be on Mara Vista Avenue. They will be on the side street, Boston Street. This would be available for guests and overflow parking. So on a regular basis, this will not be utilized for access by the residents, but it'll be available. So there's an improvement to safety and backing and entering the garage by putting garage doors on Boston Street. But we do want to retain the driveway here. The proposal includes dry wells that will contain the runoff. They're shown on the plan, detailed on the plan for the dry well. The comments from the engineering department, we received the referral and made arrangements to meet with Jim McLaughlin, the town engineer, to get some recommendations and suggestions from him. As he says in his referral, he doesn't recommend trench drains. We had proposed a trench drain across the driveway to intercept the road, the driveway runoff that would enter onto Boston Street. It was fairly routine and typical and has been proposed on numerous other plans that I prepared, but Mr. McLaughlin's a new town engineer, and he has issues with maintenance of those things and had a better suggestion. So we incorporated the suggestion. And the suggestion is eliminate the trench drain. And we actually have proposed spot grades on the driveway that will direct the runoff off the driveway to the side onto the lawn area that will be regraded such that there's a minor depression of less than a foot on the lawn area, and the small amount of surface water from the driveway will just pitch off into the grass area and just infiltrate into the grass. So we listened to the town engineer, we met with him, and we revised the plan, which I emailed to Sari today. And I'm certainly happy to provide additional copies for the file. I think some important statistics about the lot, which are on the general notes for comparison of lot coverages. The existing lot coverage on this lot by structures is 16% by existing structures. Subsequent to the renovation, the proposed lot coverage will increase to 17.8%, still below the maximum allowed lot coverage of 20. And similarly, with overall lot coverage, that being structures and paving and parking, existing, it's 21.2%. With the new driveway and this modest footprint additions, the overall lot coverage will increase to 25.6, which is still far below the maximum allowed of 40%. So I think the project is in keeping with the special permit provisions. We outlined in a cover letter how we believe that we meet the no detriment to the neighborhood provisions under 240-216. I won't go through those. They're outlined in the letter. And I'm available for questions along with Beatrice.
Okay.
Voting members?
Voting members are Robert. But that doesn't mean that you're not free to ask a question.
Correct.
Let's start with Robert.
I actually don't have any questions, but I like the idea of that depression to handle getting rid of the trench drains. I haven't seen something like that before. It's kind of an interesting solution.
Ed?
Are you convinced that's a good solution?
Yes, it's
Okay.
simple, there's no moving parts, there's
All right,
nothing to
good.
maintain, it's a
Okay.
very small amount of water.
That's the only question I had.
Yeah, so the nonconformity is it just front yard setback?
It's front yard from Mara Vista, and its sideline over here is only 7 feet. This addition will actually change the setback to Boston, which is a side yard, from 23 to 16.
But no changes, obviously, to the existing nonconformities.
Correct.
And you're maintaining those brick steps as well there?
Yes.
In the rear, okay. And then I just had a question. So the maintenance of the driveway onto Mara Vista is just a matter of functionality for the property owner?
Yes, well, it's an opportunity, parking's at a premium in this area,
Yeah.
so it's a good place to have guests park, but it'll eliminate the backing on a regular basis, other than when guests are on the property.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
TJ?
The existing basement, that'll remain unfinished?
Yes.
That's it for me.
And Jerry?
No questions.
I guess I wondered two things. In a way, you decrease your nonconformity if you switch your front yard to Boston Street. That would be sort of a technical fix. But was there any consideration of that?
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
Well,
I feel like it's a trick question.
It'd just be more or less, it'd be
Would
less
be less
non-conforming.
non-conforming. You'd have 16 feet versus 8.7, or 9.7, I guess.
If you designated Boston.
Right.
To be honest, we looked at it more, we didn't really think that in that way. We thought of it logically, the front door and the address and everything faces Mara Vista. It seemed odd to designate, to have Mara Vista be a side yard. It just didn't pass my logic test.
Plus, then you'd have a non-conforming front yard and a non-conforming side yard adjacent to Mara Vista.
Well, if you designated Boston as your front, you'd be making your front yard more non-conforming, going from 23 to 16.
Yeah, that was already.
Right, but not compared to the current situation.
Yeah, as compared to like the front yard being 9.7, but yeah, so it just, we didn't really think it.
I just thought I'd put that out there to see what.
We did
response
submit,
was.
a plan with, Rod Palmer did concur, a signature.
And then the other question I had was whether you consider, if the driveway off Mara Vista is going to be used much less, is there any thought about making it a, gravel or shell or something so it's permeable?
To be honest, we didn't think about that, but I did, now that you mention it, I do know that since it's a public street, that the engineering department wouldn't support it being impervious, at least the part that's in the road layout, so we didn't consider it at all
Which
to
can always
change
have
it.
an apron, but yeah.
We didn't consider that.
All right, well, those are my questions. Really, all you're doing is adding to the garage and creating a mudroom, I guess.
I failed to mention, too, if you look at the elevations, the overall height of the building to the ridge is 23.2 feet, and it's remaining 23.2 feet at the highest point.
All right, I think those are the board questions. I don't know if doesn't seem to be, unless Scott has a question on this one. Anybody out there to ask a question, so I guess we have enough information. Someone could make a motion to close.
I'll move to close.
Second it.
Okay, Kim and Ed to close, all in favor?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, that's unanimous, so next.
I'll move to approve application 5117.
Kim moves to approve, is there a second?
Second.
TJ? You're quick. Okay, and
4 bedrooms remaining, 4 bedrooms to be served by town sewer. Mara Vista was designated as the front yard, and there was a sign off from the building commissioner on that in the file. There's testimony that there's going to be improved access off of Boston, so less interference with Mara Vista, that's the busier street. That the applicant revised their plans to address the engineering referral regarding stormwater containment off the new driveway. I would say, so no changes to the existing nonconformities. Height 23.2 feet is remaining 23.2 feet, 240, 216. And I think it's a pretty modest proposal.
but it does, I went out there to look, and from a traffic flow and safety point of view, being able to pull out onto Boston is a lot better than being able to pull out onto Mara Vista.
Yeah.
So I think we can make that finding
Yes.
pretty strongly in terms of 240, 216, even though there's no reductions in the conformities.
Well, and I just want to say, you know, asked about the lot, changing that material on that second drive, and I thought about that too, because I think it would be more attractive.
Yeah, that was.
But the lot coverage is still so under.
It is.
what
It's really just, if it's not going to be used much, it would be like, if you had a nice
It'd be more attractive.
cobble apron with a, it would be more attractive, but it's not necessary. That's my view.
One point of on public streets, cobble aprons are discouraged if they go into the public right of way.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Just, I think Mike's aware of it, but.
Yes. And then is that it for findings? I think so, right? Conditions per plans? And it's being served by the town sewer, so we don't necessarily need
So
to
no
do
more
anything
than
with.
4 bedrooms?
Yeah, no
Yep.
more than 4 bedrooms, and I think that's everything, right?
Everyone satisfied with that in terms of conditions? Sari?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to the open meeting portion of the meeting. I guess we have minutes to approve. Minutes held meeting held July 20. Is that correct, Sari?
Yes,
Those are the only ones. Has everyone had a chance to look at these?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. No corrections or additions, then you can entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, TJ seconds, Ed moves, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And I
Let's see,
abstain.
Who was not here? All right. Yep, okay. Kim abstained because she was absent. So that's the minutes. We dealt with the Clippership special permit modification. Request for board administrative approval 65-15. Sari, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, we have a request by the McDonald's of 91 Priscilla Street to extend their special permit for 2 years based on some, where's that letter? Personal issues that have happened over time. I apologize. It's probably still sitting on my desk.
Which, the permit? Or the request?
The request, it's not in here, so I looked at it before I left, and I probably left it there on my desk, but due to certain circumstances, it says, it is Priscilla, it has taken them time to.
Remind
find a
us what
plumber
they were proposing to do.
to hook up to wastewater. This was to construct a single-family dwelling on a vacant lot known as 91 Priscilla.
Okay.
Has it been extended before?
Well, actually,
Why did they need us?
it was, because it needs to be extended.
No. Why did they need a special permit to begin with? If they were just constructing it?
It was approved under 240-66C4, not as a variance, but as a special permit. So it's going to expire shortly.
240-66,
They
you're
had to-
sending us to the book.
Buildable
Any
lot.
lot held in common ownership with such adjoining lots.
Attorney Ahmet represented them. So it's taken a while to get plans done, to get the correct information to hook up to the sewer. They were just hooked up, or they are in the process of hooking up, so they couldn't have built the house if they wanted to. So,
So they obviously they haven't started construction or done anything.
correct. They've got a foundation and that's it, but that's, may not be, I think it's the foundation's in, isn't it?
That's arguable.
So,
Could we do 1 year?
it's up to the board.
Well, it sounds like they're making steps to.
1 year seems reasonable. I think the sewer has to be tied in by 1 year.
You've got to
anyways.
remember that special permits were just granted to extend 3 years. We've got to change our bylaw
Oh, really?
to allow that. So that's why they're asking for a 2-year. Because
I didn't know
then they
that.
would have been asking for a 1 year.
So we can
Our
only...
bylaw has to be changed at the November town meeting.
That's a
Legislation changed. Building permits are now valid for a year instead of 6 months. Special permits are going to be valid for 3 years.
What about
versus 2 years.
variances? Any change?
Variances remain the same,
And this is by state.
yes.
So we can't do 1 year, we have to do 2 years. Is that
I'm
what you're
not saying that. I'm
Oh.
just saying that that's
No,
one
we
of the
just-
reasons.
I think
behind
the 1 year is
request.
I think what
reasonable.
she's saying is that to make it comparable, if you got a new special permit today, you'd have 3 years. These guys are running out after 2. If you give them 2 more, it's like they had their 3 years plus.
Plus?
Thank you.
I still think 1 year is adequate.
That's fine.
I think
Given
1
the
year,
circumstances.
if they've already gotten stuff going.
I'm not sure that the foundations, and I really can't remember, I apologize. I
That still
apologize.
seems reasonable. and
1
they
year.
feel
But they can
Yeah.
always come back.
It's easy just to send in a
So,
letter.
Jerry and you agree, so make a motion.
Look at that. We used to have disagreements on the board, and people would.
I'm still confused as to what motions non-members can make and cannot make.
Well,
This is not a,
This is open meeting.
It's
Jurisdictional.
administrative approval,
Okay,
it's not in a
so I'll
public.
make the motion, or I'll second it, whatever one.
do one or the other.
Kimberly, we shall motion, so I'll second.
I didn't move. I'll move to, that we grant administrative approval 6515 to extend for a period of 1 year.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I apologize for my confusion on it.
that's all right. You're not the only one confused.
There's a poker game called Confusion.
Okay, board discussion of emails between board members. I think what precipitated this was Jerry sent around a comment regarding
A hearing.
last week's, well, not a specific hearing, it was...
No, it
More
was
detailed.
about a hearing.
But it was
that
a general comment.
Right. About a hearing that was held.
But I was asked to forward it.
Yes, and
But you don't,
that-
I'm just saying.
so the question arose, if we wanted to communicate on something procedural, I'd say Jerry's comment related to procedure, not specific to a hearing that we were considering, is that something that can be
I
circulated?
asked Frank Duffy to speak to this board about it, because I'm very concerned that, and it's nothing against Jerry, but the public doesn't give you permission to email the board. The
Not-
open meeting laws and the board's policies do.
But
So my point is for everybody to understand, and including myself, I could be wrong. The board has always weighed on the side of caution, so you don't get in the habit of emailing board members and emailing about something that may or may not come in front of you to where I'd have 5 members that have to recuse. So, but I did ask Frank to speak to you about it. He did email me, as a matter of fact, today and asked me, because he has another issue that somebody else asked for it as well on another email issue. So he's going to get back to me. So I prefer, before
let's
you
wait and
make
hear
any
what he
judgment,
says.
to hear
That's what he
from
said.
Frank.
But I think Jerry has a point. I mean, if the topic was, for example, who's bringing the donuts to,
That's different. That's totally
well,
different.
could I say something?
yes.
I went back because I was concerned that you were concerned to look at that open meeting guide. And there's 4 specific areas, we obviously, in part of it is that this constitute a deliberation. If you go back into the law and look at deliberation.
Jerry, I've read the law.
What, I'm not saying you haven't, it's a matter of interpretation. Deliberation in this guide does not refer to all communications. It means deliberation as to the jurisdictional matters of the
I
board.
understand what you're saying.
So that policy matters is up to board to discuss. That's outside the open meeting law. That's a procedural matter. I also, in general, don't like everything to be, it has to be this way, and nothing against you. There is nothing wrong with someone saying, could you send this to the board? If the board starts making a lot of mistakes, or serious mistakes, I mean, I could have sent this open meeting law to all members of the board, but I didn't because I figured you'd get upset. But it's clearly, I didn't have to raise an opinion. I could say, this is the open meeting law guide that's written in plain language for citizens.
I think the difference is that if something is sent out, it references a specific application or meeting, and you haven't even passed appeal periods, or there's issues, or in deliberations.
fair.
I think that's where you get into it, because in a situation like this, they reference the meeting, they may have been in support. I mean, there's issues that you can get in afterwards. If it's just general, like you said, but if something in any email, I think, references any kind of meeting that's still under consideration and the
That's fair.
appeals period hasn't ended,
Any kind of hearing.
Yeah, I think,
any kind of hearing, then that should go to the administrator, or if you don't think it should, then it should go to, town council in advance and say, is this something that I could send out or not?
no, it could go to the administrator.
I
guess,
think
can I-
just for clarification, that's why I asked Frank Duffy, because there's so many different things. Everybody can make their own interpretation from that. I wanted Frank here so the board can ask him specific questions, not just somebody's interpretation, because my interpretation is probably different than the rest of you, and I told you that this board has always practiced caution. We've talked about it during workshops and different things, so that's what I was relaying to you. I understand the open meeting law. Believe me, I have had it crammed in my brain for a long time. All I wanted was Frank Duffy to speak to the board about it and have the board ask specific questions. Give you the opportunity to ask Frank and have the other board members weigh on it, because I think we're going to have a policy made out of this.
That might, may I speak?
So,
Yeah, hold
Can I-
on,
wait, can I
Kim
jump
would
in?
like to say
So I
something.
just have 2 points. So one, it's, since I've been on the board, which has been a few years now, it's always been a bright line policy that everything goes through Saray. And I don't think it's a negative, because then you're still getting the information that you want to relay to the other members. It's just coming through Saray. And so I think it's protecting us, it's providing an additional safeguard, and it's really, doesn't really make a difference whether it comes through Saray, because she'll say, hey, a board member asked me to pass this along. And I think it just gives us that extra level of protection, and it doesn't hurt us to do it. The second concern that I have is just a perception from the public. So if Joe Smith sends you an email and says, hey, and you say, can I pass this along to the board? Next thing you know, you're a conduit to be receiving information either during a public hearing process or after a public hearing process, when I think our initial response should always be, I'm a sitting member, I can't talk to you about, ongoing hearings or ongoing issues. Direct all comments to Sari, the zoning administrator, that's what she's employed for, and then she'll direct those back to us. So I just have a difficult time thinking that we would be, we go to people's houses, we don't talk to them, or, everything is so cautious, and I just hate to start making us individuals conduits to.
Well, it's taking on a lot of responsibility, Jerry, for you to make the judgment
Can I
as to
make a-
whether it's appropriate or not. That's
Well, I'd like to say, as a lot of other members here, I'm eminently familiar with the law, and I almost called up the Attorney General, because that's where, if we have questions on the open meeting law. Now, procedures, that is the board's decision. Open meeting law, the interpretation of that can be Frank, or it can be the Attorney General, and that's what they're for. So my issue wasn't, and still not, on open meeting law, it's procedural. This is gray line, the person didn't say they objected. Well, you saw the letter, right?
I saw the letter.
I mean, it was clear that it was an administrative, I apologize to the board. That doesn't even come close to.
See, I looked at it a little different
Okay.
with that letter. I read into that letter that, yes, they were apologizing, but they were there to support an application and didn't have a chance to support the application. So in this case, it was a positive motion, but what if it was a negative motion? What if something was denied, and then they sent this information through, you submit to the board, and now they think, oh, wait a second, maybe if they were here to speak, maybe there would have been a different decision, or... That's why I just think if it has anything to do with a reference to anything that's current under consideration or hasn't been appealed, whatever that section of,
That's
just shouldn't be disseminated.
That's fair.
And
By
it's
Sari.
easy just to say, I can't take this information, send it to Sari.
It's just
That's where
easier.
all
It takes the
information-
front
And then we
of
don't
it.
have to make, like Ken said, a judgment call. And no one's saying that you don't know the law, Jerry, it's just saying that this has been the policy of the board.
I was just saying, that
Unwritten
I think I
policy,
know
I
the
think we
law
should say.
as well as everybody else on the board,
No one
including the... Well, no, it was accused,
Okay.
yeah.
No one
I
has
think we should make a
suggested
procedural
otherwise.
ruling, so we don't get into the
So
rules.
let's say
No
that,
one's
here's
suggested
where we
otherwise.
seem to be going, is Cerise's asked for some input from Frank, I think that's reasonable.
fair.
And we get that, and then we make our procedural
That's
finding
fair.
as to how we want to go forward with this.
That's fair.
And I think, I don't think you I think you were just trying to share and not do anything malicious, so that was fine.
And I certainly didn't send you an accusatory email. I just asked you to please remember, this is, and we've talked about this, this is what the board does. But,
Well-
you know, I certainly,
Okay, so we'll await
I just always caution the
input from
board.
Frank, and then we will, during one of these open meeting sessions, we'll develop a policy.
Hopefully soon, so we can get that, because
Okay,
we've got to
and
work on
then-
the policies anyway, remember?
Yeah.
Yes, I've
Yeah,
been putting
that's
that
true.
one
That's the
off.
next one.
Under our new chair.
That's number 5.
I know,
So let's
spin them.
Yeah.
go on with any correspondence or board updates. I've always wondered what board updates are.
Well, you were updated on your appeals that you've recently received. You will not get separate service for the hack. You will get service for the Superior Court, so please notify me when you get served, so that we can keep an eye on compliance with the
Yeah.
service.
So the hack is not treated like it's a court. Right.
Although it is, it's just not, they didn't
a
have to
different
notify us,
procedure.
they didn't have to notify the town, but we did get a notice. I'm sure we'll receive the proper notice from hack, probably hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, and
Because
Kim's
it's dated
already ready
August
to
2nd.
adjourn,
That's
so.
right.
Two quick updates, if possible. Where are we on the planning board changes to the zoning, or is it just a work in progress?
I
Oh.
haven't, you know, I haven't heard from him recently, I'll ask him.
Yeah, yeah,
Tomorrow, he did ask for, what input I got from the board was that Plan B?
It was the outline.
Yeah.
Okay, just, so you haven't had it. And the
Yeah.
other thing is, have we heard anything official on withdrawal of the challenge to the land court on the wind determination?
I thought the paper was very clear. I don't think, I haven't talked to the selectmen, but it was
Selectmen-
very clear that they weren't going to do anything.
They weren't going to appeal the particular individual
That
case.
shut down Win 1 and Win 2.
But I don't think anybody has said anything publicly about withdrawing the land court decision. I mean, withdrawing from the land court, because no decision is
Nobody's
made.
said anything to me.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I know, which land court one are you speaking of?
The
Winter.
appeal of our special permit.
No?
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's-
was that
Wasn't
land court?
decided?
Yeah, that was land court.
Okay.
That was the one, Zabrowski.
Yeah, I know.
Butchering his
but
name.
I haven't heard anything about
Okay.
that. And I don't think anything about that was in the paper either, but
I don't
they're
either.
not going to do anything. It'll be interesting to see.
Okay, does that do it for tonight?
I think it does.
Meeting
Oh, that was.
We should have become.